Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm welcoming the people that are online joining us today also. And for the people that are online, if there's any questions, please type them into the chat box. The chat box will be monitored and we'll get your questions answered there. Just when you're online, please remember it takes about 5 minutes sometimes to get the questions loaded. And but you so just keep that time frame in there. So, anyways, welcome everybody. We have Holly and Brad from Volunteering Fox Cities here with us. They're going to talk a little bit about what their position is in the Fox Cities here, as far as connecting volunteers. This is one of Brad's passions, being able to connect volunteers and also into our community with all the really great nonprofits that we have here also. So Chad says, or Brad says that he's also must be a little bit of a gamer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Um, but he also works with his church with mid schoolers, is it? So, with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Holly and Brad take over, and I'll be sitting back there monitoring the chat. Thank you.
Mute. Can you hear me? Nope, can't hear me now. Now we're green. All right. Oh, is it going? Can you hear me at all? Excellent. Fantastic. I'm going to scoot forward so I can see what's showing up there. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Brad Creighton. I'm the Community Engagement Director for Volunteer Fox Cities. Like Dennis said, this is really nice because at my church, I work with the middle schoolers. So it's nice to talk to adults for once. So I love my middle schoolers, but they're middle schoolers. um, so at Volunteer Fox Cities, our job, our mission, what we really do is we want to connect folks in the community throughout all of the Fox cities with meaningful volunteer opportunities. So we're really excited to be here today, talk a little bit about what some of those connection points are, answer any questions that you might have along the way. I will warn you in advance that my wife accuses me of being too much of a talker. So if you have a question, please do not hesitate to interrupt me and ask that question. Otherwise, I will just keep going. And we will also have some time for questions and answers at the end as well. So, oh, look at that. I did it right. So this is us. I'm not going to read through all of this, but this is kind of who we are and how we build everything that we do. Our vision is really to grow volunteerism, and we want to grow volunteerism through working with the nonprofits in the area and their volunteer programs, the business community who has when they have corporate social responsibility programs, and then individual community members and organizations as well. There's no secret in the benefit of volunteering. When we choose to give our time, there's just a lot of great things that happen. 76% of people who volunteer report that they feel physically healthier. 94% of people who regularly volunteer say that it increases their mood and their mental health as well. And 96% of the time says that it really gives them a feeling of a sense of purpose. So to us, it's not a secret. To some other people, they don't necessarily know that. So we want to connect folks with that kind of sense of purpose that volunteering can give. We've been around for 35 years. This is our 35th year in existence. I am not going to walk through this entire timeline. This is just some of the highlights. But we started back in 1993 at the Thompson Center, if any of you are familiar with the Thompson Center. And we opened as the Volunteer Center of East Central Wisconsin. There was a grassroots community of folks that really saw the need to get people connected into quality volunteering, and then we were born. So we had a bunch of different projects and programs that grew out of that original group. In 1998, we started our RSVP program, which Holly's going to tell you about in a little bit, but that's our Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. We were one of the first in the nation to receive the funding from the federal government to do an RSVP program. So we were excited about that, and that program is still going strong and growing speak today. In 2018, we rebranded from the Volunteer Center of East Central Wisconsin to Volunteer Fox Cities. And in 2019, we launched our popular Give Back Bus program. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And we've just kind of continued to grow from there. We've started quarterly different events. We've started a whole bunch of different new programs. And then in March of 2020, COVID hit, which we all love COVID, right? But that didn't stop us. There was still a need for volunteerism, even though it definitely looked different in the height of COVID times. And we were able to work with all of our partners to find ways to continue to support them through volunteerism. And then here we are today, 35 years later and still going strong. So with that, I kind of want to take a look at some of our ways that we can connect you guys into individual volunteering opportunities. Like Dennis said, one of my passions, one of the things I get excited about is seeing people find a volunteer role that really fits them. Because when you find that role that fits you, not only are you benefiting whoever you're volunteering for, that's when you're going to see all those other benefits for your physical health, mental health, outlook on life, really starting to improve as well. It's just, you can see people light up in a little bit of a different way. So I get excited about that. A couple different ways that we can get you connected. If you are good with technology, we have an online portal. It's called Get Connected. On Get Connected, we have over 9,000 users now throughout the Fox Cities, and we have about 100 different nonprofits that go on and update their volunteer needs all the time. So right now there's about 365 different volunteer needs listed on Get Connected. If you sign up, it's a free account. We don't sell information or anything like that, but you can fill out a profile where it's going to ask you, what are some of the things that you are passionate about or do you like to give to? What causes do you like to support? Are there any organizations that you've heard of or believe in or want to get behind or learn more about? There's just little check boxes that you can click. And then the program will work its magic, and it's going to start showing you volunteer opportunities that would probably be a good fit for you, where you can then explore more about those. It's very active. There's about 215 or so views per day on Get Connected. So we've got a lot of users that are looking for great ways to get connected. And in terms of the nonprofits that are represented on there, it's every cause. So anywhere from working with animals to housing insecurity to people who need to find food to working in the arts and everything in between. There's a need for everybody. And I will mention over here on the table after we're done, we've got a lot of literature. There's a little sheet like this that talks about how to get started on Get Connected. If you're not great with technology, that's okay. We have a book called our Volunteer Connections book. Looks like this. There's some of these over here as well. A lot of the same stuff that you'll find on there is written in here by nonprofit organization. So it gives you a chance to kind of flip through, read a little bit more about each of the volunteer opportunities, the commitment that's involved with it. And if there's something that interests you, it has contact information right in the book for who you can reach out to learn more. I will let you know that if you do reach out to someone in here or through Get Connected, you're not committing. You're really just reaching out to learn more, to make sure that it's a good fit for you. No one's going to say if you call or email or however you reach out to someone, okay, you have to sign up right now. No, they want to make sure that you're finding a good fit as well. One of our other programs that we just started that came out of the pandemic is called our Branches Family Volunteering Program. We found that families, once they were forced to spend a lot of time together, and then all of a sudden that was over, they really missed spending a lot of time together. So we started seeing a huge increase in calls about, well, how do we volunteer together as a family? they were running into barriers of how to find opportunities that would work. So Branches was born. I will tell you, it's not up to us to decide what a family is. In our pilot program, we had some moms and dads with their kids. We had a couple grandparents and their grandkids. We had someone and their adult children as a part of the program. We even had a group of coworkers that worked together so much that they called themselves a family. So it's not for us to define what's family. As long as you believe you're a family, you're welcome to be a part of it. The idea behind Branches is that we go ahead and we remove some of those barriers that folks were running into when it came to coming up with volunteer needs. We have about 4 different impact days, as we call them, throughout the course of a year, where we plan all the activities. The Branches family sign up for the one that sounds good for them. And then on the impact day, they go and volunteer on that day. What's really cool about the volunteer projects that we build for those days is they're a little bit shorter, and they are friendly for everybody. So whether you're a 6-year-old or a 136-year-old, it's going to be an opportunity that's good for everybody. We also focus on education in the Branches program. So not only are we going out to do the volunteering, we make sure that folks are learning about the organization they're volunteering with, the cause that their volunteer service benefits for. We really want to make sure that we are building up that next generation of volunteer. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Holly here, and she's going to talk a little bit about our RSVP program.
Thanks, Brad. Okay, my name's Holly, and I'm the RSVP Assistant Director. As Brad mentioned before, RSVP stands for the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. Volunteer Fox Cities is a sponsor of the RSVP program under AmeriCorps Seniors, and AmeriCorps Seniors is one of the largest volunteer networks in the nation for people aged 55 and older, and they have been serving the community for over 50 years. The main focus is assisting other older adults in their desire to remain as independent as possible, providing safety, companionship, transportation, weekly check-ins, meal delivery, and more. We like to think of ourselves as a one-stop volunteer staffing service to connect you with various volunteer opportunities. So you'll meet one-on-one with an RSVP staff member, myself, or Jan, who's the director of the program, and we can learn about your experiences, interests, and your availability to volunteer. We have over 270 volunteers. The average age is 73 years old. And there's a wide variety of opportunities available. We have agreements with 50 nonprofit agencies, including schools, Feeding America, Habitat for Humanity, and local hospitals. You just need to complete an enrollment form. There's no cost. We do a background check, and once you're a member, you will receive a monthly newsletter, supplemental insurance while you are volunteering, assistance with mileage reimbursement, and invitations to community events. We also have an appreciation banquet coming up in May. Okay, Tech Ed. This is a really cool program. You can learn tips and tricks for using mobile technology devices such as smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and laptops. You can learn how to use email, video calling, safety features, popular apps, and more. This is for participants ages 50 and older. There's no cost to the program. It provides flexible one-on-one appointments with a compassionate technology instructor. Couples and friends are welcome. The curriculum is tailored to help you meet your goals. And the goal of the program is to support vulnerable population to increase social connections and improve technology, comfort, accessibility, and functionality. Some of the statistics: we have over 230 enrollments, 4 instructors. We provide the program in 3 languages. We've had over 600 sessions so far, and there's been 7 host sites. So they will go out to Oneida Heights, some of the other places. They'll come out to your house. And we have some really great instructors that help folks learn how to use some of this stuff that can be kind of intimidating to me even as well. So, and then a couple more programs. Phone Pals. This is a confidential telephone outreach program for homebound adults, people with disabilities who live alone, and people who lack a social support system. So we have volunteers place phone calls to isolated individuals to provide friendly conversation and strengthen social ties. Calls are from trained and vetted volunteers. We do currently have some volunteers interested in making phone calls, so if you know of anyone that could benefit from this service, please let us know. Telematch, the Telematch and Elder Match, both these programs we assumed from Lutheran Social Services in 2020. Telematch is kind of similar to Elder Match. You place phone calls to isolated senior adults that include health and wellness checks to decrease social isolation. And the Elder Match, volunteers actually visit senior adults in their homes to provide companionship and improve their capacity for independent living. It's an informal, friendly visit. The match can start out playing games or cards, and as the relationship develops, they may venture into other topics and activities. Through an ongoing connection, a friendship will develop so that the older adult will begin to look forward to these visits.
Thanks, Holly. Holly is she just passed a test. Holly's brand new with us. She started about a month ago as our RSVP assistant director. So we are super happy to have her on board, and she knows her stuff better than I do. So that's pretty good. One of the things that yeah, you can absolutely give her a round of applause. You know, one of the things I really love about some of those programs she was talking about, the phone pals, the telematch, the elder match, those connection programs. A lot of times, we don't always think about volunteering as making some of those personal connections. People have this stereotype image in their mind that volunteering is, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do the physical work. I'm going to rake the leaves or paint the walls or whatever that may be. Truth is, volunteering is really anything that serves another person, right? So sometimes just picking up that phone to call someone who doesn't have a lot of people to talk to check in with them, to make sure that they're doing okay and getting the connections and the resources they need can truly make a huge difference. We have an arrangement and we send volunteer groups a lot to Linwood community with Fox Valley Lutheran Homes. And one of my favorite stories of all times in one of those social connection things was we sent a group over there and they didn't know this was part of our Give Back program. The cool thing about the Give Back program is it's a mystery program. We put together the volunteer experience, but the volunteer doesn't know where they're going or what they're doing until they get there. Some people, it drives them a little crazy, but that's okay. We do it for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, as adults, we don't get a lot of surprises, at least good surprises anymore. So we want to put that little fun element into it. But the real root behind it is we want to take away preconceived notions, something that we maybe heard from somebody else or we read in a newspaper or saw online about a certain nonprofit or a certain agency. And that puts it in our mind and we're like, oh, I would never give or I would never volunteer there. We want to take some of that away because we believe in the work that our members, our partners are doing, right? So we took this group to Linwood community and they were doing what we called musical canvas. So the idea behind it was a social event. The residents at Linwood community coming out of COVID, where they had just been so isolated, were feeling disconnected from the community, from people in general. So this group of volunteers went and they sat amongst all the residents and everybody got a canvas and there was the trunk of a tree drawn on it and that's all that was on there. And everybody got one color of paint. So what would happen is we'd turn some music on, they'd take their color, they'd start painting on that canvas with their color. While they're doing this, they're chatting with the folks that they're sitting around, hearing stories, telling stories, all sorts of different experiences. Then when the music stopped, they took their canvas, they passed it to the next person, and then they started painting on the new canvas with their color. Not only did they make some cool artwork, but the connections that they made that day were priceless. Afterwards, we were kind of doing a debrief with the group and just really talking about that impact they made. And somebody stood up and said, you know, I would never have thought of something like that as volunteering because I was just going and painting and having fun and talking to people. I love to do that. And now that person goes back all the time and just visits with the residents and the folks there with those connections she made. So there's just all sorts of different ways to kind of connect like that, and I love that story. You absolutely may. It was a fun day. It was really a fun day, and those volunteers still talk about it too. They do. Some of them had, they all got to keep some of the canvases, and everybody's got them hanging up in different places. Really, really a fun day. The cool thing about the Give Back program is not only do we have stories about that, about the personal impact, there's economic impact as well. Since the start of the program, we've had 977. That's actually a little bit bigger because we had another Give Back bus. Since I made this slide, but it equates to about $80,000 of economic impact then put back into the community. So it's really kind of a fun, different way to volunteer there as well. One other thing that we do, I won't spend a lot of time on this because it's just a different thing. I mentioned our corporate partners. A lot of workplaces now understand the value of volunteerism. And they are making whole divisions and whole recruitment pitches about how, as individual employees, you can give back into the community through your work. And they have huge programs. So we really work to support those programs and come up with ways that they can give back, share best practices and ideas that they're working on. And some of the great ideas that have come from that group, and some of the project and the volunteerism and long-term volunteers that have grown from that group are phenomenal. In terms of programs, that's kind of all I really want to highlight. It's not a menu. That's not all that we do. Again, kind of like Dennis said, and I mentioned at the beginning, we want to make sure that folks who are interested in volunteering, or even have the smallest thought of, maybe I could try something, find a way to do it. And not just find a way to volunteer, but find a way that it's going to be powerful, impactful, not only for their community, but for themselves as well. We can't survive as a community without giving to each other, without looking out for each other, without really trying to lift each other up in our times of need, in our culture, in everything that we have going on. And volunteerism is at the heart of all of that. If you volunteer now, I encourage you, please keep volunteering. If you're in a volunteer opportunity, or you're doing something that you're just kind of doing it because you've always done it, because at the time you started there was a need for it and you've just been doing it now, but you're not feeling fulfilled or you don't see an impact being made, it's okay to step away from that. It is okay. It is okay to look for something new that's going to really fit where you are at your current stage of life. If you're someone who's not volunteering, I encourage you to try it. No matter what you like to do, no matter what skill sets you are, no matter how much time you can commit to something, there is a volunteer opportunity that is out there for you. Whether it's one time, once a week, once a month, every day of the week, we can find something that will fit and will work for you. Try it. I promise you, when you find that thing that's the right fit, you're not going to be disappointed. And your life is going to be enhanced in ways that you probably couldn't even imagine. With that, I do want to open it up. I could talk a ton more, but when I come to things like this, I want to make sure that your questions get answered. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts or anything, Holly, myself, we'd be happy to answer. So let's hear them.
The one question I had, though, and you touched on it, and I just kind of reached into my heart a little bit, was it sounds like there's opportunities for people that can't get out and more homebound, but still be able to get involved and volunteer and stuff like. What are a couple of those areas?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Holly, if you want to chime in on this too, but one of the things, especially in our RSVP program, is we have what we call special project teams. And if you want to explain a little bit about what I'm putting you on the spot.
That's okay. Yeah, we have things that come up where bags need stuffing, things like that. We bring some folks into the office and they put together little gift bags for things. We did one recently for the folks at Brewster Village. In terms of homebound, I have a couple orientations coming up with some folks. There's always the Phone Pals program where you can just make calls. We also need volunteers for the telematch program, which is very similar. Once we get to know a little bit better about the limitations, we can research some of those opportunities. Some of them are virtual. One of them I can think of is I can't think of the name offhand, but it's helping people acclimate to the Fox Valley area, and you can do that virtually. Fox Valley Literacy Program, I believe, is that have it. But there are things set up now because of COVID where volunteers can do it virtually. And as far as limitations go, we always try and meet with the person and work around those as well. So,
Yeah, one of the things that goes along with that, if there's something that intrigues you or you're interested in trying, but you're afraid you don't have the skills or the training, most of the I won't say all, but most of the volunteer programs make sure they do as much training as you need to make sure you can do your volunteer role as you need to. And we do have some of those special projects as well that if someone can't leave their home for one reason or another, we have definitely taken stuff to them that they can do at home as well.
We did have a fellow the other day. He can't drive. He can't drive and he is housebound. He came from a corporation. I think he worked at Oshkosh Corporation, but we have some spreadsheets and things. He's big into data. There's some database things that he can do from home, and we're working on some other things. He was interested in maybe helping some folks learn technology that way as well. So yeah, there's always some one-off projects that's one of the positive things is we can meet with you and work with your needs that way. So.
Yeah.
On the tech ed programming, are some of those classes available? I think I'm loud enough, aren't I? Are some of those classes available virtually, or are they all person to person?
So what happens with tech ed is if you enroll in the program, you'll get matched with an instructor. And then what you'll do is you'll work with your instructor to figure out the best way for you to address whatever training you would like to work on. I would say most or all of them to this point have been in person to person, or in small group. I can't promise it, but knowing our instructors, I would have to imagine that if someone wanted to and could learn what they wanted to learn virtually, I'm sure they might be willing to work with that as well. So that would be something that as you got matched with an instructor, you would work on with them.
Okay, then the other question I have, it seems as though people in my age cohort, with the type of technology we have now, that seems to be a common theme about, problems with the phone or trying to understand the phone or the computer or the laptop or has there been any kind of classes that have developed to address those kinds of issues, or I was just curious.
So tech ed is one of those that was born from that. It started with a lot of our RSVP members.
I see.
Either needed to learn it for their volunteer role or wanted to, especially, kind of coming out of COVID, and they had to communicate with, via technology to some of their family, and they learned enough to do that, but now they wanted to learn more, right? So that's kind of where that program was born out of. But yeah, that program itself will address any of that technology need or struggles. And the cool thing about it is that it's personalized, right? You work with your instructor to talk about, well, I know how to do email and I can take the photos and this and that, but I really want to learn how to do this.
Okay.
Or somebody mentioned this app that sounded like I could use that. Can you teach me how to use that? Or all the way down to, I don't even know how to turn my phone on. So wherever you would fit in there, the instructors would work with you to learn that, or anybody to learn that.
Okay, and then one second question, are you having more cultural diversity in some of these programs? I didn't pick up on that in the presentation. I was just curious.
Yeah, so diversity is one of our way back at the beginning when we had that huge timeline we talked about on there. There was a little note about our strategic planning that started in 2021,
Okay.
and diversity became one of our focus points, something that we want to work on. So we're getting there, and we're starting to. Our programs are available to absolutely anyone, no matter who they are, what background they're from, or anything. It's in our strategic plan to start working on the focus and reaching out now into some of those communities. We're excited that we're working with Celebrate Diversity Fox Cities for we always did a summer bash event as part of our give back program, and they always have a summer cookout, and we're like, let's do this together and really learn from each other. So that's a really cool partnership that we've just kindled and we're working on there, and we hope to just grow from there in diversity and inclusion.
Where did he go?
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Jane.
I just wondered, do you work with specific organizations like VITA and Feeding America, literacy program through the library? I don't know if that's through the library or not, but different organizations, and are these like regular volunteering, like say once a week, or could it be just sporadic, like when you have time? How does that all work?
Okay, so I'm going to try and keep a long story short. So we are at Volunteer Fox Cities. We're a member-based organization. So we have nonprofits that want support in their volunteer program, be it through recruitment or building the program. They join by paying a small membership fee. It's like $325 a year, and then they get. We've just we're partners with them then. We currently have 95 different nonprofit partners throughout all of the Fox cities. Our service areas are technically Winnebago, Outagamie, and Calumet counties, and RSVP even stretches into Wapaka County a little bit, yes? And you don't do Winnebago, but there is an RSVP. If you live in Winnebago County, there is an RSVP program in Winnebago County that we could introduce you to. It just wouldn't be through us. It would be through AdvoCap. So those are the folks that we primarily work with, and again, there's all sorts of different nonprofits there, but we do have relationships with a ton more that aren't members. So again, as we're learning about someone, as we're working with an individual or a group, if there's something that we feel through that conversation, or they've identified through that conversation that would be a good fit for them, and they're not one of our members, we're not going to say, sorry, we're not going to connect you or match you up there because they're not a member. We'd much rather see people get connected to volunteering than just stick only to our members. In terms of frequency, whatever you're looking for, it's usually out there. From one-time things, a lot of the one-time things tend to be more event specific. So Vita, I think, was the first one you mentioned. Maybe they have an education event or something coming up. That's a lot of their one-time things. Some of them have monthly occurrences, if that's once a month, and sometimes it even stretches to every day. So whatever time you can commit, they're going to work with you. I always say, if you're really just dipping your toes for the first time into volunteerism, it can be overwhelming to look through the book or look through the online portal and just see these hundreds and hundreds of opportunities are there. I would always say, find the organization or the cause that is speaking to you in that moment and start there. Because when then we connect you with that organization, they're going to learn more about you. and what time you can commit, what skills you have, or where you want to help. And if it doesn't exist, they'll make it. They'll make an opportunity that fits for you. Most of them will make an opportunity that fits for you in that way.
Any other questions? Well, I want to thank Brad and Holly for their time today, and what a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, over on the table, we've got information about all the stuff we kind of talked about today. Please feel free to grab and take. Our business cards are there too, that have our phone number and email on there. So if you're anything like me and you walk out the door and it's like, that's what I wanted to ask, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Dennis also knows how to get a hold of me if you need to in the future. So thank you all for having us. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.